Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Unapologetic with Alan-Micheal.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, and turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by...
So this is it, a book review. Finally, after saying I was going to do this a month ago, I finally got around to it. If you listen to episode 1, you know the explanation for that. Thankful for y'all being patient with me as I plan out the direction of this show. I think I'm not much of a perfectionist, and my overthinking might get in my way at times. So I'm going to be giving a summary of a review of a Dave Rubin's book, Don't Burn This Book, Think for Yourself in the Age of Unreason. I followed Dave for a while, even seen him at LSU. I pre-ordered this book, came in maybe the next day after it was released, and I finished it in a day. So who is Dave Rubin? Rubin, once a member of the Young Turks. His bio on his website states that his journey from a left-leaning progressive to a free-thinking classical liberal has been quite an adventure. As a gay married man living in America, he spent the majority of his adult life subscribing to a certain political belief system based primarily on his immutable characteristics. Fed up with the mainstream media narrative and clickbait news, he decided to open up about his awakening for all to see. He came to realize that no person or idea should be expected to join a side, but rather they should embrace their status as an individual. He now feels that the modern left has lost its way by taking political correctness and groupthink to a dangerous level, distracting from the true American dream of the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. His background as a stand-up comedian, degree in political science, and willingness to listen without fighting has uniquely positioned him to tackle big ideas and uncomfortable truths with thought leaders from both sides of the aisle. His show, The Rubin Report, aims to create civil discourse with people we both agree and disagree with, and host a dialogue with others whose ideas are judged before being given the chance to be presented in an honest way. Dave is currently taping season 5 of his talk show, Speaking Around the World with Dr. Jordan Peterson on the 12 Rules of Life tour, and performs stand-up comedy in cities around the U.S. Now let's talk about his book. So here's a clip of Rubin talking about his book, and then I'll come back in with my commentary.
If you actually step back a little bit, you will see something incredible going on. There are so many more people engaged right now, so many more people thinking about what they think and why they think it. And that's why I'm writing this book. And that's why the subtitle is Thinking for Yourself in an Age of Unreason, because I'm actually, and we had a whole bunch of discussions with the publishers on this, but I'm really not, this is not a book where I'm telling you what to believe politically. There are actual moments in this where there's a chapter actually where I lay out, I take like most of the hot button issues of the day, so say abortion and death penalty and taxes and gay marriage and foreign policy and all of these things, and I lay out my beliefs on them and through the lens of classical liberalism, which is the lens that I look at things. But I'm not telling you that you have to believe these things. I actually make the argument, so like in a case of abortion, for example, I make the argument that absolutely there are good people on both sides. I don't think it's the case that people on the right hate women, and I don't think it's the case that people on the left hate babies, and that what are the ways that we can talk about an issue like this while respecting the general beliefs of rights for the individual. And why abortion, of course, is such a complex one on this is because generally people on the left put more of the, well, they don't believe in the individual as much, but in this case they believe that it's the individual, meaning the woman's right to choose, where the people on the right believe that the fetus has a right to life as well. And it's just a different way of looking at the world. And that's what we have to bridge. And you want to live in a country with people where you can really argue those things. What I find interesting about the abortion debate, and I reference this in the book, is that I find people on the right, so the pro-life people, are far more willing to engage in good faith than people on the left. Now that obviously is a theme a lot politically these days, but I've had many people in this very studio who are more than happy to debate, and not even debate, just have an honest, open conversation with pro-choice people. And even though I consider myself begrudgingly pro-choice, I see people on the right trying to reach out. It's very rare that you see someone on the left that's really willing to engage with someone on the right. If you're watching this and you know of somebody, if you've got somebody that's a published author or an outspoken online personality with a decent following that is willing to engage and not call people names and all those things, like, I'd love to set some of those debates up. I'd love to have those conversations. But what I try to lay out are just the basic guidelines for you to know how to think about the issues. And if you come to a different conclusion than I do, then more power to you, I suppose.
So a part that I thought might be helpful was to read the book jacket. I know when I'm normally buying a book, I read the book jacket if I'm in the store, or I try to read a summary of it so I kind of get an idea. I thought that might be helpful within this podcast, since we're not actually reading the book to you, I'm just kind of giving you my opinion on it. So I think maybe like giving you all the information about the book and what the author says and what the jacket says, give you an idea, so you won't just take my opinion of it as like the know all be all. So what does the book jacket say? The left is no longer liberal. Once the side of free speech and tolerance, progressives now ban speakers from college campuses, counsel people who aren't up to date on the latest genders, and force religious people to violate their conscience. They have abandoned the battle of ideas and have begun fighting a battle of feelings. This uncomfortable truth has turned moderates and true liberals into political homeless class. Dave Rubin launched his political talk show, The Rubin Report, in 2015, as a meeting ground for free thinkers who realize partisan politics is a dead end. He hosts people he both agrees with and disagrees with, including those who have been dismissed, deplatformed, and despised, taking on the most controversial issues of our day. As a result, he's become a voice of reason in a time of madness. Now, Rubin gives you the tools you need to think for yourself in an age when tribal outrage, the only available alternative, based on his own story as well as experiences from the front lines of free speech wars. This book will empower you to make up your own mind about what you believe on any issue and teach you the fine art of checking your facts, not your privilege, when it comes to today's most pervasive myths, from the raised gap in gun violence to climate change and hate crimes, standing up to the mob against today's absurd PC culture, when differences of opinion can bring relationships, professional and or personal, to a sudden end. Defending classical liberal principles such as individual rights and limited government, because freedom is impossible without them. The progressive woke machine is a raging war against the last free thinkers in the world. Don't Burn This Book is a definite account of our current political upheaval and your guide to survive it. So what's my thoughts on this book? When I originally began writing this episode out, I put this book was released at the perfect time. After events that are currently going on, I can say that this statement is still 100% true. Rubin lays out his internal struggles of how he was supposed to think or act when with how he actually felt. He starts asking questions, kind of like I myself have. I can relate to this in my own moments of asking questions, especially when it came to the social norms. I recall when I was 17 at the DMV and I was registering to vote, because I think like in Louisiana they let you vote or register to vote within the year if you turn 18 before the next election or something like that. I don't remember. It's been about 11 years ago now. But anyway, I remember back my mother telling me to check the Democratic box, and I asked why. The answer I got was that's what black people do. I wouldn't say I was a difficult child, but when I was coming up, I was very questionable, and I never did anything because I was told to, per se, like, not like being disciplined, but just I was very good with that, but just like when I was told to do something because I was expected to because of certain things. And I never did anything I was told just because my parent told me to. I needed to know the reasoning behind it, and my mother's answer wasn't good enough for me. Long story short, I registered as independent and was independent until 2016. Back to the book. Rubin details not anything like that, but his upbringing was aligned with more liberal ideas, but the current party didn't match what he believed. I think anyone who really wants a laugh but also see someone evolve into their own should read this book. I feel like a lot of people get turned off when they think he's a conservative, which he isn't, and I don't understand why that. If you listen to him enough, you know that he's a classical liberal, as he mentions many times in the book and throughout all his shows. If you follow him like that, I think of JFK when I think of a classical liberal. Speaking of which, have you noticed how some group of people in this country will only listen to you if you say their opinion, but will disagree with you if you don't say theirs? I guess that kind of makes sense. They won't give you the time of day, and I feel like that's what he gets a lot of. He's very insightful. You might not agree with it, but he does say some things in this book that make you go, huh. Like he mentioned something about not taking your cell phone into your bedroom at night. And literally ever since I read this book, I have not once slept with my cell phone in my bedroom. I leave it in the living room on charge, and I literally sleep like right off the bat. Used to be I stay up till almost midnight scrolling through Facebook or something. So I can say like that kind of brought a change, made me more mindful of things that I do, and that came from this book. So I like that part of it. In the chapter Find a Mentor, he talks about how it's okay to say that you don't know. And in today's time, it seems like a lot of people want to know everything because I guess we have it in the palm of our hands, even our perfections. I don't know everything in my job. I don't know anybody who does. We are keen to what the job entails, but there's always somebody that knows more, and it's okay to ask questions. And I'm a firm believer in asking or reading or learning or getting back to the person. I feel like we kind of lost that. So you would think that with Twitter and Facebook that everyone knew everything about everything. He also speaks on the news, which I've been taking that advice. He states find more than one source and look for independent sources, especially in today's time. It seems like everybody is always trying to morph you into their own way, or the way they're thinking, or lead you down the same path. He mentioned something there that goes, if the narrative always leads to the same conclusion, wouldn't you question that? And I see that a lot. I just look around at some of my friends that, we don't always agree with everything. I think I have a good mixture of people on both sides, and not that string that you see on TV every day, but, you have to question, like, if I'm watching this news channel and I'm watching this other news channel and their conclusion still leads me to the same direction or the same path, wouldn't you want to question that? So I encourage everybody to look for independent sources. I get most of my news or headlines from different people on YouTube or different articles. It's not like mainstream, because on both sides, they will try to lead you into one direction. There's good people, but they don't, on both sides, but they don't really show you that. You just see the extreme from each side, and it brings turmoil into your personal life because so people take the news and you get into arguments in your personal life, and you have to realize, just take a step back and just talk like normal people. I enjoy talking with some of my friends, some more than others. No offense, you guys, but because you could just talk and you can express yourself, and you don't agree with you, and that's fine. But that's, at the end of the day, they're still my friend, and we've lost a sense of agreeing to disagree, and I think that this book touches on that. So I encourage everyone to pick up a copy no matter where you fall on the political spectrum. It's funny. I laughed a lot. So yeah. So I would totally suggest this book for everybody. I think one of my favorite quotes from the book, which is so relevant to today's time, it stood out to me. It was go from being woke to awake. Don't y'all just love that? Everybody's so woke, but are they really awake to what's going on around them? And I'm probably going to touch on that in my next podcast. So my rating for this book. So everyone knows that I have a pit bull named Mayor, the name after John Mayer, and he licks me a lot. So I think I'm just going to name my rating system for these book reviews as Mayor Licks. So for this book, I'm gonna give it 10 Mayor Licks. I mean, it's really good. It's like he's getting a soup bone. So go pick it up. I seen it at Target. You can order it on Amazon. I think it's available again. When I pre-ordered, it was like sold out. But I know I seen it at Target a couple of times. So yeah. Or you can borrow mine if you know me personally. I don't mind you borrowing it if you want to read it. It's also on the audiobook that Audible that Amazon has, and I actually kind of read it, the hard copy, along with that, which is, guess how I finished it so fast. But it's also interesting hearing him tell his jokes, because I don't think it will land with the voice that I come up with in my head. So yeah, go check out this book. I suggest it to everyone. So I want to thank everybody who listened to my first book review. Please follow me on Instagram. It's at unapologetic_a_podcast. You can like me on Facebook. It's unapologetic with Alan-Micheal. And please send me questions you have or book suggestions to my DMs. If you know me personally, just text me. And always remember, be so blunt that people can smoke your truth. Until next time, talk to y'all later. Bye.
Let them and chalk up their body, another one body, that's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, how to stay on the go. I can play with the pros and act like a rookie so they overlook me. They're not double up again, none of their knows, none of them cold. They just got lucky but never adapted, so I'm to the one if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close, I let them think that they got me, but what do you